What's up, people? Another episode of Just the Sports. I'm OK Davis here with you. We're going to get into the NBA Finals as Game 3 and the Finals shifts to Indiana. We'll talk some NFL. Are the Steelers really good for Aaron Rodgers' soul? Maybe. We'll talk NHL playoffs. The Panthers, they might be just trending towards a gentleman's sweep of the Edmonton Oilers. And what will Edmonton be able to do in order to try to get that back? FIFA World Cup, the Club World Cup that is. Are you watching? And are you watching the U.S. men's national team? It's not looking good for them, and I'll tell you why. French Open, USA, Coco Gauff representing. My thoughts on that, I picked Sabalenka, didn't win it, but happy for Coco Gauff. And I did pick Alcaraz in one of the best matches of all time. And why? Look, in my mind, the Belmont wasn't that good. It just wasn't that good. And I'll tell you why. But first, we're going to start with the National Basketball Association as the series tied 1-1, shifts to Indiana. And as I thought about what I wanted to talk about, the main thing for me is who has more pressure right now. And in my mind, it's the Indiana Pacers. Reason being, number one, no one was counting on Indiana, including me, to be where they are today. In the NBA Finals, the Knicks were the most appealing pick, if you will, for an NBA Finals as far as ratings. Everybody wanted the Celtics to defend their title. I thought the Cleveland Cavaliers, being the best team in the East, would be in the finals. And here we have good old Midwestern, home of basketball, Indiana, in their rightful place in the NBA Finals. Because they've shown a level of grit, not so much during the NBA regular season, but during the playoffs, that got them to where they are. But they need more grit to stay in the conversation. For Oklahoma City, they had the best record in the National Basketball Association this year. So everyone was picking Oklahoma City to be where they are today. I wasn't. I tried to go with a sleeper in the Clippers, and it didn't work out. But Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and the merry band of basketball players for the Thunder have bounced back in Game 2 and in some ways reasserted their dominance in the rout of the Indiana Pacers in Game 2. Because really, Game 1 was a surprise. Indiana was down 15 points in the third quarter. Oklahoma City was cruising like they have before in the playoffs. And Indiana showed that grit that they were able to get back and win the game. But here are two things that need to change for Indiana to turn the tables. And maybe really, I know in my social media posts after Game 1, I was surprised. It was like, what the hell, Burton, is happening in Oklahoma City? What's happening with the yes sirs, as they say on the shirt, the Indiana Pacers? But they need Tyrese Halliburton to play like a champ, to play like SGA, the MVP. And not so much in coming up when we need you, when you can win the game with 0.3 seconds on the clock, which is still good. But they really need Tyrese Halliburton to have a big game. He only took 13 shots in Game 1 and 2 in the NBA Finals. None bigger than the game winner to steal Game 1 and home court advantage from Oklahoma City. But Indiana needs to hold on to that home court advantage now by winning these two games. And it's going to be an uphill battle if Tyrese Halliburton plays the same way that he's playing. 13 shots is simply not good enough. 14 points 17 points respectively in game 1 and 2? No, it's not going to do it. When Halliburton scores more than 20 points, they are 7-1. He needs to be aggressive. Not because the other team can't lift them up. It's just they need that contribution from Tyrese as well. He needs to show, well, just like SGA for Canada, hey, I was an Olympian too, but I've got one better. I was a gold medalist. I know how to win. I know I've been on a team that's finished games. And so has Pascal Siakam when he was in Toronto. So you've got two players who know that they need to turn it up. And that's going to be very important in game 3. This may be the most pivotal game. Because if they lose this game and Oklahoma City Thunder get home court advantage back, it's a wrap. I think it's a wrap. And granted, maybe I'm sitting here doing exactly what Indiana Pacers players, front office, team, fans want to do, is for you to think that they are down and out. And I'm not saying that they're necessarily down and out. I'm just saying that game 3 is pivotal. They got to establish that they belong. And realistically, representing the home fans, being in Indiana, the home of basketball, they need to win. And very well, that could be Oklahoma City's defense, which is stifling, which is hurting Oklahoma City. But I'm going to give you one stat that's interesting. You may think that Oklahoma City is getting more whistles than the Indiana Pacers. But the funny thing is that it's what free throws you make that make a difference. Yes, Oklahoma City had 39 fouls called on them, 57 free throws, they made 50. Indiana had 47 fouls called on them, 47 free throws, but only made 34. That 16-point swing could be the difference between the Pacers having won game 1 handily, or in game 2 just thinking about being a little bit closer. Maybe it stings some, the way that Oklahoma City won. That's possible. That is quite possible. But they are going to need to have a better showing than winning by 1 point in game 1. And yes, they lost 123-107 in game 2. But the key to me is Halliburton. This team will go as Halliburton goes. When I looked at the box score for game 2, and you see Tyrese Halliburton is only a -5, and the plus-minus differential on the court, they are playing okay. I mean, maybe even better than okay. It's -15 with Pascal Siakam, -17 with Nembhard. So the team is able to hang in there when Tyrese Halliburton is on the court, but it's a bit of a drop-off when he's not. I do, when you look at the Pacers, 1, 2, 3, 7 players in double figures in the second game. That's pretty good. No player scored over 20 points, though. And if they can find a way to slow down SGA, he had 34. He had a big game in game 1, too. So you know that's where it starts with Oklahoma City. Now, what does Oklahoma City have to do? They need more out of Chet Holmgren, Jalen Williams, Chet Holmgren and Lou Dort. They need more. Because when you have Aaron Wiggins and Alex Caruso with 20 points and 18 points, that's good. That's good for them. Shows the bench is scoring compared to Indiana, who only the two non-starters, Benedict Mathurin and TJ McConnell in double figures. If you get a lockdown player in Lou Dort, getting in a rhythm scoring, only 3 field goal attempts in game 2, that could be trouble. Jalen Williams didn't have a good game 1, had a better game 2 with 19 points. If he can follow that up, if Chet Holmgren can be better on the offensive and defensive end, it might be a wrap for Indiana. They're going to have to find a way to neutralize SGA and find a way around Oklahoma City's defense. And I know that's not going to be easy. It's not going to be easy at all. But I'm going to enjoy Game 3. Looking forward to it. Hope you are too. Now, if I have a prediction for the game, as I was recording this, the line is OKC at -5.5. I'm going to take Indiana. I'm going to take Indiana at home, sleeping in their own bed, getting some home-cooked meals, and being fired up for the crowd. I think they're going to get Game 3. I know before the series started, I said it's going to be Oklahoma City in 5 games. And now I think at least it'll go 6 or 7. But I think Indiana gets this game at home. What I don't get is what's happening in New York. You fire Tom Thibodeau, who somebody posted on social media, the Knicks haven't gotten this far in the playoffs, says do the right thing. And the Knicks did the wrong thing in getting rid of Tom Thibodeau. I know I was saying that in my mind, defense wins championships, but maybe not defense this way. Maybe Tom Thibodeau slowly learned that, hey, I've got to make some adjustments in the way I coach. Actually, in the last podcast, I brought up his unwillingness to be nimble, but I forgot that he did actually take Josh Hart out of the starting lineup in that series against Indiana, trying to make a switch. But I think Tom Thibodeau deserved another chance to try to win with this Knicks team. Right? There was a shakeup. Karl Anthony Towns was brought in. Julius Randle was brought out. And the Knicks saw success, getting to the Eastern Conference Finals. I know the NBA Finals and winning it is the ultimate goal, but considering where you were before that, this wasn't that bad. And the thing that changed my mind, if you will, about whether it was a mistake or not, was what's happening right now with the Knicks asking for permission to talk to all of these current NBA head coaches. Ime Udoka in Houston, Jason Kidd in Dallas, Chris Finch in Minnesota. What are you doing? Why are you doing that? It's almost the Knicks. They had no plan. So now they're just trying to poach coaches. Oh, let's just go after this coach. And then all of a sudden, we'll make it to the NBA Finals and win. One, that's not the case. It doesn't necessarily work that way. Or at least it shouldn't. We'd be surprised if it worked that way for an NBA team to be like, okay, New York, yeah, you could take our head coach who we are growing and winning with, and we'll just hand him over to you. And then you can reap the rewards of his success. Why would any NBA team do that? Why would Minnesota, when they were just in the Western Conference Finals, or Ime Udoka in Houston, who got very lucky in even getting Ime Udoka, give up on him when the turnaround of the Houston Rockets over the last 2 seasons has been astronomical? No pun intended. In Houston, you like that. Now, Jason Kidd, maybe not after what happened with Luka, but now you got the number 1 pick in Cooper Flagg, and you're getting Kyrie Irving and Anthony Davis back. Why would you want to give that up? 2 Olympians and not only the number 1 pick, but arguably the best player, young player in this draft, who got to play with USA Basketball last year. I don't get it. It doesn't seem to me like they have anything in place for the firing of Tom Thibodeau. It's just like, it was almost like it was an irrational decision. They needed to take a week after the loss to let things kind of settle down, think about the totality of the season, before they just made this what seems like a knee-jerk reaction. Tom's out. I know there's some talk of people saying, give Mark Jackson a shot. Give Jay Wright and make it a Villanova reunion a shot. I'm not opposed to either one of those. I also wonder if there's the next Mark Daigneault, who's in the NBA Finals right now at Oklahoma City Thunder. Or maybe one of Tom Thibodeau's assistants, Joe Mazzulla in Boston. That was a gift, a beautiful mistake in Boston. That Ime Udoka, they had to let him go due to some off-the-court issues. Brought in Joe Mazzulla. Bang, bang, couple of years, they're NBA champs. Maybe that is a solution where it's just like, okay, let's pause on you thinking you can just poach other coaches. Because what? Well, we're in New York. Everybody wants to be in New York. Maybe they don't. Because you obviously didn't appreciate what Tom Thibodeau did in the 5 years he was there. So if I'm an NBA coach and we're talking about, hey, I'm hired to get fired, I don't want to be in New York where, on a whim next season we say, I don't want him either. Maybe that's not a good place to be. And don't get me wrong, I don't want to say you have to go with all young coaches either. Because on the other sideline in the NBA Finals is Rick Carlisle, who's been an NBA head coach for some time, including the NBA Finals with the Dallas Mavericks, where they beat the Heat, right? There is an opportunity for the Knicks to chill and find the right candidate. And maybe it's just that the news got out when it wasn't supposed to get out, that they were trying to poach other coaches. But I just don't like it. New York should be above that. They should be better than that. Leon Rose and that front office and the ownership group and James Dolan should be able to say, no. We don't need to go poach somebody else. We got it up here to hire the right guy for the job. And we're going to do that. I just don't understand what they're doing. I don't understand it. I don't. NHL playoffs, if I'm going to stick with finals, and this is Lord Stanley Cup finals. Florida Panthers destroy the Oilers 6-1. It was a rout. Brad Marchand is the oldest player to score in the first 3 games of a final. He's playing great. And I'm not going to say that Draisaitl and Connor McDavid aren't doing what they can to win, to try to win at least. But the depth of Florida seems to be too much for Edmonton. Now, I will say, Both games 1 and 2 going into overtime. Edmonton winning the first one, Florida winning the second one in double overtime. You could say it was a bit of luck by Florida. Or you could say that Edmonton winning the first game was a bit of luck. The bottom line is that you've got a lot of players that are just playing so well for Carolina. Sam Bennett, Ekblad, Rodriguez. You got Sergei Bobrovsky, who they call Bob. It just seems that Florida, considering that this game was now in Florida, and basically, similar to Indiana, Florida stole home ice from Edmonton. Boy, it's not looking good for Edmonton. They simply may not have the depth to be able to stick with Florida. Florida can throw so many different lines at you. Being that deep team, man, Florida may go back to back. They're looking like it. And I know that there was fighting after game 3, which is so sad and disappointing. I mean, I don't want to get on my soapbox on it, but I'll just say, what other sport would you allow fights like this, right? Basketball, you going to let them duke it out with a referee kind of like standing around to make sure it doesn't get too bad? No. You're not going to do that in football. You're not going to do that in baseball. So why do we do it in hockey? Why is it okay to fight? I just don't get it. Game 4 is not until Thursday night, so there's some time. But, man, this is it. Edmonton, their backs are against the wall. They don't, well, really more, Indiana Pacers don't want what Florida has done to Edmonton for OKC to do to Indiana. Because Florida's just on a roll. They're playing at home, which is different from the Oklahoma City, Indiana series, obviously, but it's about that game 3 being so pivotal. And now the pressure is really on Edmonton. And I don't know. I don't know if they can get it done. I'm not saying it's over, but man, this is going to be a tall hill to climb for the Edmonton Oilers. Let's go to the NFL. There are the reports out that came out when they said Aaron Rodgers was signing with the Steelers. That the first thing I said was, no, please don't do this. Don't do this. But they did anyway. Signed him to a 1-year deal. He's 41 years old going into his 21st season. And I'm not going to come around to saying it was a good signing. But it was interesting to hear, finally, Aaron Rodgers talk about why he signed with the Steelers. Quote, I don't need it for my ego. I don't need it to keep playing. A lot of decisions that I've made over my career and life from strictly the ego, even if they turn out well, are always unfulfilling. But the decisions made from the soul are usually pretty uplifting. This was a decision that was best for my soul, and I felt like being here with Coach Mike Tomlin, that is, and the guys that got here, I think he means that they got here, and the opportunity here was the best for me, and I'm excited to be here. I'll go on. There were conversations with other organizations for sure, but again, the rapport that fell in between me and Mike made it where, as I was going through my personal stuff, there wasn't any other option for me. It was here or not play. I'm glad I did find out that he got married. I thought his quote saying I was dealing with a lot of things in my personal life and some things improved a little bit, where I felt like I could fully be all in here with the guys, end quote. And he got married and he said things improved a little bit. I thought I was on cloud 9 when I got married. But they only improved a little bit. The thing here, as I read these quotes, another one from Aaron Rodgers quote, it starts with Mike Tomlin. I've been a fan of his for a long time. There's a few iconic franchises in the NFL. I played for one of them for 18 years. This is another one of those. There's something special about obviously this area. So many great quarterbacks are from Pittsburgh. I feel like Pittsburgh's been a part of my career from the beginning, end quote. And that's because the Green Bay Packers beat the Steelers in the Super Bowl. There's that connection. Terry Bradshaw, not a fan of this signing, told Aaron Rodgers he could go eat bark or chew on bark, whatever it is he said. I wonder if he'll backpedal from those comments now that Aaron Rodgers is a Steeler and part of that Steelers quarterback club. Two things could happen here. Maybe Mike Tomlin and Aaron Rodgers are made for each other. They are around the same age. You've got a quarterback in Aaron Rodgers who is on his last leg. This is it for him. This might be the last season for him. In my mind. That, let me preface what I was saying in that, in my mind, I was saying same age, but not thinking same age as in actual age, but NFL age. They both came into the league around the same time as head coaches and quarterback. That they each have won one Super Bowl. They're each trying to get back there, knowing that this may be their last hurrah. I don't necessarily think the Steelers should get rid of Mike Tomlin, and they might not even be thinking about it. But the bottom line is, it's been a while since the Steelers won a playoff game. It's been a while since the Steelers were really thought of as a dominant football team. And especially in the AFC North. I mean, the AFC as a whole is tough right now. When you've got Kansas City, you've got Buffalo. Then you look at the AFC North. You've got the Ravens. Browns, not so much, but you got the Bengals and Joe Burrow. And you've got the Steelers trying to hold on. I forgot the Houston Texans. You got the Broncos who came back up. Chargers. Still got a pretty good quarterback down there. Jacksonville Jaguars, not so much, but you could throw them in the conversation. And maybe the Dolphins. Talking like tier B. But Steelers right now might be tier C before the signing of Aaron Rodgers. No one believed that Mason Rudolph was going to take them to a 10-7, 11-6 record. They were going to be one of the dominant forces in the AFC. No. And so when you look at Mike Tomlin trying to, in some ways, not save his job, but show that he can still win in this league when it counts in the playoffs, this may have been the best option as far as a veteran who's won a Super Bowl. Kirk Cousins hasn't. And I know I brought him up as an option. So this is where we are. If you're a Pittsburgh Steelers fan, you're like, okay, we got Aaron Rodgers. Let's do this. Now, do I think that they're going to be phenomenal? No, they could have a Cinderella season. I don't think so. I'm thinking more 9-8. Just still a winning season for Mike Tomlin. Aaron Rodgers is not Tom Brady. I know he thinks he is. I know that there are some fans of Aaron Rodgers out there that are hoping, oh, he can do this. And there's some Steelers, people in the organization that are hoping that he can do this. And I want to see them do well. But I think you have a coach and player here on a very similar trajectory in their NFL career, their age. Right? What? Mike Tomlin going to his 20th season? Aaron Rodgers, 21st? It's definitely something where I see how they are kind of in the same boat. They're going to row together. But the main thing I hope happens here, it's not so much a winning season, because I could see a season not going well, and that helping the Steelers in drafting maybe a better rookie quarterback. But what they have now is a young player who is the NCAA college football playoff champion in Will Howard from the Ohio State Buckeyes. Maybe Aaron Rodgers can help coach him, groom him. Maybe he'll do the same for Mason Rudolph as well. That's quite possible. And Skylar Thompson. But if you look at the quarterback core now that will get the chance to learn from Aaron Rodgers, maybe that's also something that the Steelers are looking at. That's very important for them. If any of what Aaron Rodgers has, not the ego, but the football acumen, rubs off on Will, maybe Will Howard becomes someone we didn't know he could be as an NFL quarterback. Certainly, as a Steelers fan, you didn't think Ben Roethlisberger would be what he was going to be. And you'll take Ben Roethlisberger every day. So maybe if Will Howard becomes that, you're okay with it. I think you would really be okay with it. Sticking with football, but football of a different kind, what I know you can't possibly be okay with is Switzerland's rout over U.S. in the United States Gold Cup warm-up. 4-0 or 4-0, as they say in England. You got to be worried as a U.S. men's national team fan. They were playing in Nashville, so they're in America. They're prepping for the CONCACAF Gold Cup. Here's what Walker Zimmerman, the defender, said. Reading a quote here. It's really easy to look at one game, one half, and be like, oh, this is all going to pieces. They can't come back from this. But you look even to the build-up to the 2022 World Cup. We take down Morocco, 3-0, and they make it into the semifinals. Things change. That was 6 months apart. It's not the end of the world, end quote. You're right, it isn't. Mauricio Pochettino, maybe he's going to be good. Maybe you have to go down to go up. You got to hit rock bottom. That very well might be, unfortunately, where U.S. men's soccer is right now. Rock bottom. They've lost 4 straight games, which is not good. Of course, the fans were booing. Four goals in the first half. That's not good. They haven't lost 4 straight games since 2007. Now, they start their CONCACAF Gold Cup against Trinidad and Tobago on Sunday. The U.S. men's national team is 500, 5-5 under Pochettino. There is no doubt that what's happening here as well, and we have to remember, there are a lot of players not playing for U.S. men's national team right now, and that's not sitting well with some pundits and fans. But you have to understand that's what happens. Christian Pulisic, Yunus Musa, Weston McKennie, Gio Reyna. There are a lot of players right now that are missing for the U.S. men's national team, and that's not good either. They've been playing overseas. Some need their rest. There have been several pundits, including Landon Donovan and Alexi Lalas, who've been very critical of the U.S. men's national team players for not coming back. And that the main player is Christian Pulisic. Why isn't he playing for U.S. men's national team? Because he's been playing overseas. And he needs some rest. And I get that. It does make it, unfortunately, difficult for us to be able to say, is this the true representation of the U.S. men's national team? And I would say no. I would say that we've got to stay the course. Greg Berhalter was fired. Oh, he's not doing great. There have been coaches over the years that it hasn't boded well for U.S. men's national team, but at some point, we've got to probably give it, in my mind, a good 5 to 7 years to see where the team is. Let's get through the World Cup. Let's get through the next Olympics, and then maybe reassess then. Shoot, let's just get through the Gold Cup. And you're not going to have Christian Pulisic for the Gold Cup. Unfortunately, you won't. And I know that that's not going to be a good thing. You may not get the result that you want because of that. But it is what it is. There have been several players over the course of this season, I'm sure past that too, that have all talked about how there are too many soccer games. And now here I am talking about how I want to go to the FIFA Club World Cup. How many games can they have? They're pretty much almost playing year round, and at least in their mind, that's what they're going to say. And playing year round may not be that bad, but maybe a reduction in the games, a reduction in the number of cups. Maybe that's what it's going to take. Maybe. Two things. That are going to play out is, are you okay with USA not doing well in the Gold Cup? If, secondly, that means that, okay, if they have a good showing in the World Cup, then I'm okay with that. Because that's what I think may happen. If you're not going to have the top players for the Gold Cup, you may not get top results. Now, silver lining is some of the younger players, the players that are available, are getting more playing time and growing. But maybe it's okay to sacrifice the Gold Cup if by the time U.S. men's national team gets to the World Cup and they have all of their players available, that they are more in sync and have a better result. That's what you want. And I think we want to win the World Cup more than the Gold Cup. Come on. Okay, I'm being facetious. We're not going to win the World Cup, but a better showing. And if we do win it, that's great. But that's a real long shot. What wasn't a long shot, but I, in my mind, scoffed at it like almost it was that I didn't pick Coco Gauff to win the French Open. I didn't. She won her very first French Open, which, hats off to her, hats off to the Americans, that they've got something to cheer about, at least on the women's side. I'm happy for Coco Gauff. She fought back from 1 set down to winning 3 sets. That's pretty cool. That's exciting for her. What I didn't like is Sabalenka only giving half credit to Coco Gauff. In her post-game press conference, she talked about how she's sorry the fans didn't get to see her play her best tennis. I would have rather her said it was great that you got to see Coco play hers. I know sometimes I bring up, did a team or player win it or lose it? Did one team win it or did the other team lose it? And I could do that here. But in this case, I would say Coco Gauff won it because she had to fight back from down a set, which means to an extent, Sabalenka did play well, enough to win the first set. But that's a lot to have to come back like that. And Coco Gauff did it. And hats off to her. On the men's side, I picked Alcaraz. I said Alcaraz will win it. When he was down 0 sets, 2 sets to love, I was like, oh boy. Maybe Sinner was going to win it. But the fight, the grit in Alcaraz was amazing. I was listening to it in the car on my way home, the 5th set. I got to see a little bit of the 4th set. It was amazing. The funny thing was something had to give. Sinner was 0-4 or 0-5 in matches that went over 4 hours, which this did. And Alcaraz was 0-8 in tournaments where he was down, or in matches where he was down 2 sets to love. So somebody had to win there first, and it just happened to not be Sinner. Some of the amazing shots that Alcaraz made to win that 4th set were just, and then I'm hearing them in the 5th set. I couldn't see them, but it was pretty amazing. And on clay, the Spaniard, where Rafa Nadal won most of his majors, and Alcaraz went to Rafa Nadal's camp when he was younger. This is the surface. It's actually one of my favorite surfaces to play on, although I didn't get to play on a clay court in college. But I love the sliding. I love what you can do with the slices. It's a great surface to play on. And I hope that Wimbledon will have some great matches as well. Anything that goes a 3-setter or 5-setter, to me, that alone makes it a great set. Now, for my Wimbledon predictions, I will not make those just yet. But man, if Alcaraz can win that, if Coco Gauff can win that, maybe, already Alcaraz definitely is like the next generation. Everybody already talks about it like that. But maybe Coco Gauff can cement her legacy as that next great player. Possibly. Someone who will never, ever be able to say that they are great, in my mind, is actually a horse. And that's Sovereignty. Okay, fine. So the owner, Godolphin, and the trainer, Bill Mott, won the Kentucky Derby, and that was an ultimate goal of theirs, and good for them. But they'll never be great because they don't want to achieve greatness. Because in my mind, greatness is the Triple Crown. And I'm not really into horse racing. And you may not be into horse racing, but you know what the Triple Crown is. And Bill Mott, they decided to skip the Preakness. Okay, so journalism didn't really beat sovereignty in the Preakness. And then now in the Belmont, sovereignty beat journalism again. I'll give you that first one in the Kentucky Derby. The reason I can't really be excited or say, oh, wow, about sovereignty is sovereignty was chilling since the Kentucky Derby. While journalism, the winner in the Preakness, was working its tail off, or was being worked, because it is a horse. That's my thing. Now, it's funny that it was the same 1, 2, 3 with sovereignty, journalism, and Baeza in the Belmont, just like it was in Kentucky Derby. There were only 8 horses in the field at the Belmont, which I think also plays into it as well. Well, one, I didn't watch. It wasn't really a protest as much as I just felt like, yeah, but there isn't a chance for sovereignty to go for the Triple Crown. Does Godolphin and Mott not want history? I mean, I think they're, turning up their nose at the establishment of horse racing. I will say that. And that's what is the beginning of what makes it disappointing for me. Okay, yes, maybe moving the race back, rearranging all 3 races so every horse feels like, and the trainers feel like their horse is at its best to be able to compete in all 3. I'll give you that. Journalism felt that it was okay for them to participate in all 3. What's the issue? Michael McCarthy? Yeah, let's do it. We want to make history. And sovereignty, Bill Mott, Godolphin, doesn't seem like they want to do that. Hopefully next year, maybe they'll get it. But by then, maybe, I don't know. Whatever horse will be racing and winning then. I just think in my mind it should have been a race for the Triple Crown, assuming that sovereignty would have won the Preakness. Maybe sovereignty wouldn't have, and it wouldn't have been a thing, but we'll never know. And that's the big problem for me. We'll never know. We'll never know. I know that's the end of Just for Sport. I'm Jamoke Davis. Enjoy your week of sports. I'm going to enjoy mine. I may have a real story for you by the time we get to the next pod. Ciao for now.